I think I'll pass on that one. Ishvara Parama Krishna Satchidananda Vigraha Anadya Adya Govinda Sarva Karana Karanam. In seeking to understand Radha and Krishna's loving affairs, first we must be certain of our grasp of tattva. What is the scientific truth about Krishna? What is the scientific truth about Srimati Radharani? As His Holiness Ramai Swami was cautioning us, we should not think that Krishna is an ordinary person and his activities are imitating what we do or what we would like to do. Or we may mistakenly think that his activities are some kind of mythology for the purpose of our focusing on them until we're strong enough to meditate on Brahman, the impersonal oneness. This is what Mayavadis think. They think that Krishna and his pastimes are the highest construct of Maya. But once you go beyond Krishna and his pastimes, then your spiritual life is on the liberated platform. Of course, please understand that as soon as you entertain those words beyond Krishna, you're dealing with nonsense. The words don't make any sense. There's nothing beyond Krishna. As he says in Bhagavad Gita, Mata prataram nanya kinchirasti dhananjaya. There's nothing beyond me, Krishna says. That means not even Narayan, not even Vishnu, not Shiva. So when you take Krishna's words about himself as they are, then you can start to appreciate his pastimes, his leelas. We're going to speak a little about the name of Krishna, Achyuta. Anyone here named Achyuta? No one. You know, in the beginning of Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna calls Krishna Achyuta. Senayo ubayo madhye. Pratam stapaya Achyuta. Oh Achyuta, oh infallible one, drive my chariot in between the two armies so I can see who's assembled here, who's desiring to fight. So why does Arjuna call Krishna Achyuta? Because he's saying in so many words, he's saying with just one word, Achyuta, that even though you're my chariot driver, and the chariot driver is considered inferior to the warrior who stands or sits behind him on the chariot, still, I know your real position. You're infallible, no matter what role you take up. So you know, for the Pandavas, Krishna took up the role of messenger, so many other capacities. But Arjuna is saying, never mind how your activities look to ordinary persons. I know that you're infallible and that you love to come under the control of your devotees. But there's a deeper meaning to Achyuta, and that you will see in Radha Krishna Leela. Krishna is Achyuta in his pastimes with Radha, with the gopis, because his enjoyment is infallible. Maharaja was hinting at that, and he gave me an opportunity to try to expand on this subject. That Krishna never fails in his enjoyment. So if you're going to be envious of someone, this would seem to be the most appropriate object of your envy. Someone whose enjoyment never fails in the slightest. I often point out, why does Krishna carry a flute? Srila Prabhupada explains that Krishna is always seen with a flute to show you that he is all play and no work. And what about us? Whenever we want to materially enjoy, what happens? You have to work. You have to struggle. As soon as you try to be materially happy in any kind of endeavor or pursuit, first you have to control, even to the slightest degree. As I often explain, maybe that control is simply just moving your eyebrows or speaking very sweetly. Wouldn't you really like to do this? Still, that is control. Every time, and you can make a study of your own life, day by day. Every time you try for material happiness, you have to exert some control. That is work. As Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Nahi kaschit chanamapi jatu tishtat yakarmakrit. No one can refrain from activity even for a moment. Because you want to enjoy, you want to be happy materially, that means you have to endeavor, you have to work. But Krishna never works for his pleasure. And this is why there is so much envy of Krishna. And this is why he says in Bhagavad Gita, Abhajanati mamudha. The fools think that I'm an ordinary person. Without scientifically understanding Krishna, you look at his pastimes, like the boat pastimes, and you think, oh, that's just like what we do. When actually the situation is the reverse. We are the imitations of Krishna. We want to have our own pastimes, our own pleasurable reciprocations of loving affairs. And we're willing to go through so many ordeals just to achieve those goals. Because we're trying to imitate Krishna. Gathering here and hearing about Krishna reminds us that we're not the center of the universe. We're not the supreme enjoyers. We're not even little enjoyers independently. We take pleasure, we relish hearing about Krishna's enjoyment. Now, usually, you would think that by your hearing about someone else's happy pursuits, happy activities, and pleasurable activities, you'd think you'd be miserable. And social psychologists have pointed out that's the effect of social media. People have become more miserable because they go on Instagram or whatever, used to be Facebook. They go on these sites and they see everyone they know having a good time. And then you look at your own situation, you're miserable, you're depressed, you're full of anxiety. So hearing about someone else's happy days, unless they're your own children, you feel depressed. But hearing about Krishna's activities fill us with spiritual life, give us spiritual energy. So therefore, as Lord Kapila Dev explains in the third canto of Bhagavatam, Satam prasangan mama virya samvido bhavanti karna rasayana katha tajoshanara shakva bhagavartmani shratarati bhaktir anukramishyati. When you talk about Krishna's activities, his enjoying activities in the assembly of devotees, because of that gathering of sincere devotees, the taste of the talks becomes sweeter and sweeter even more than if you were just speaking them on your own, reading them on your own. The talks become sweeter and more powerful, especially dependent in magnitude, in amount, on the sincerity of the assembled devotees. Tajjoshana Ashtrapavaga Vatmani. the doorway to real liberation swings wide open just by participating in talks about Krishna. And you make advancement to bhava or rati and eventually to praying. So there is such incalculable benefit in hearing about Krishna's loving affairs. Everything is always perfect in his pastimes because Yoga Maya arranges everything. Gathered here at the shore of the lake, you can think of the bank of the Yamuna River, for example. We heard about the Manasi Ganga, and there's also the pastimes on the bank of the Yamuna with the cowherd boys and Krishna, with the gopis and Krishna. The sand on the bank of the Yamuna is very soft. Krishna often points that out. This sand on this bank is the perfect place for our pastimes. Perfect for wrestling with the cowherd boys, perfect for dancing with the cowherd boys, and perfect for loving affairs with Krishna's consorts. Not only is the sand soft on the bank of the Yamuna, but the air is filled with the fragrance of lotus flowers. Can you smell them? And the breeze is blowing, carrying the aroma of the lotus flowers and also making a very cool sensation for the skin. And the trees are hanging over the whole scene. During the daytime, the trees provide shade from the sun. In the nighttime, the trees protect the confidentiality of the confidential pastimes. So everything is perfect. The aroma of the lotus flowers and also making a very cool sensation for the skin. And the trees are hanging over the whole scene. During the daytime, the trees provide shade from the sun. In the nighttime, the trees protect the confidentiality of the confidential pastimes. So everything is perfect. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Kunja Bihari. So this is Krishna. Far beyond mundane conceptions of God is the supreme enjoyer, Sri Krishna, and his pleasure potency, Srimati Radharani. Ultimately, our goal is to regain our position as Krishna's loving servants, as Krishna's loving friends, as Krishna's loving parents, as Krishna's loving consorts. We want that service in relationship to Krishna. That is our ultimate goal. That's the ultimate goal of what Lord Chaitanya has come to give us. We make progress to that goal by being the servant of the servant of the servant. Gopi Bhatu Padakamalayo Dasa Dasa Dasa. In Bhakti Yoga, the highest position is to be the servant of the servant of the servant. And in the material world, you think the highest position is to be the master, to be on top, to be the boss. But in Bhakti, the more we become servants, the more we make spiritual advancement. And then, by making spiritual advancement, we can understand Radha Krishna Leela. Hare Krishna.